You know that moment after lunch when your eyelids start to feel like they're made of bricks?
Oh, yeah. That magical time of day when every cell in your body whispers, just lie down for 10 minutes.
Exactly. But here's the question. If you actually do take that nap, are you being lazy or smart?
Today, we're diving into one of my favorite topics ever naps. Not the 3 hour Saturday collapse kind, but the short, strategic ones.
The kind that make you feel like a new human being. And surprisingly, science says those tiny naps might be doing something incredible to your brain.
Welcome to Easylish, the podcast where English feels natural, personal, and sometimes just cozy enough to make you want a nap.
I'm Mia.
And I'm Tom. So let's get this straight. Are naps really good for you? Or is that just an excuse we give ourselves when we don't want to work?
You might be surprised. Studies show that short naps, around 10 to 30 minutes, can actually boost memory, focus, and creativity.
So it's not just a lazy day thing, it's like brain maintenance.
Exactly. Think of your brain like a computer. When you nap, it's almost like hitting refresh. Your mind clears out the mental clutter and reloads with more energy.
But here's the twist the length of the nap changes everything. 10 to 20 minutes can make you alert. Go past 30, and you might fall into deep sleep. Then wake up groggy like you've been hit by a pillow truck.
That's called sleep inertia. When your body wakes up, but your brain's still half in dreamland.
So the trick is finding that sweet spot. Short enough to recharge, long enough to reset.
I read a study once where people who took 20-minute naps in the afternoon performed just as well on memory tests as those who had a full night's sleep.
That's wild. It's like your brain can sneak in a mini power up during the day.
Exactly. And maybe that's why so many cultures have siesta time. It's not just tradition, it's neuroscience.
You know, this actually makes me think of vocabulary. That word siesta comes from Latin. It literally means the sixth hour, or midday rest.
Perfect example of how culture and language connect. So when someone says, I need a siesta, they're not lazy. They're in tune with ancient wisdom.
Which means next time I nap after lunch, I'm not slacking. I'm being historical.
Historical or just sleepy. But seriously, there's something kind of beautiful about how rest, science, and language all meet in this tiny act of closing your eyes.
You know what's funny? In English, we even have gentle ways to talk about naps. People say, I am just resting my eyes, or I'll take a quick power nap.
Yeah, power nap. I love that phrase. It sounds efficient, like charging a phone,
Exactly, it makes rest sound like productivity.
which in a way, it is. Because after a power nap, your brain literally processes information faster. It's like giving your neurons a cup of coffee without the caffeine.
So here's the takeaway so far naps aren't lazy, they're strategic.
But we haven't answered the deeper question yet. Why does the brain need that break?
That's a good one. Because if our brains are always on, maybe they need quiet moments to sort, store, and reset what we've learned.
And maybe, just maybe, that's why even the busiest minds, artists, inventors, scientists, were known to nap.
Exactly. Da Vinci, Edison, Einstein, they all swore by short naps. So maybe there's genius hiding behind a good pillow.
Or at least behind 10 minutes of silence in the middle of a loud day.
I like that.
We'll dig into that. How naps actually change your brain right after this short, not nap, break.
All right, so before the break, we said something kind of bold that naps can change your brain. Let's get into that. What's actually happening up there when you close your eyes for 20 minutes?
Think of your brain like a busy office. All morning long, people are running around. Emails, meetings, phone calls, noise. That's your brain processing information. When you nap, it's like everyone leaves for lunch. The lights dim, the noise fades, and your brain finally gets to file away the papers scattered everywhere.
I love that image. So, during a nap, your brain isn't just switching off, it's reorganizing the mess.
Exactly. Scientists say that short naps help move memories from your temporary working space into long term storage. So when you wake up, the things you studied or read about are more likely to stick.
That's wild. It's like the nap presses the save button in your mind.
Totally. And here's something even more interesting: creative breakthroughs often happen after naps.
Really? Like when you suddenly solve a problem you've been stuck on?
Exactly. It's because the resting brain keeps working in the background. When you nap, your mind starts connecting ideas you didn't even know were related.
So that's why you sometimes wake up from a nap with a new idea or a random song stuck in your head.
Yes, it's your subconscious still playing with information. One study showed the people who napped before doing a creative task performed twice as well as those who stayed awake.
Twice as well? Okay, now that's motivation to nap guilt free.
And it's not just about creativity or memory. Naps also help regulate your mood. When you're tired, your brain's emotional center, the amygdala, goes a bit wild, but a nap calms it down.
Which explains why everything feels 10 times worse when you're sleep deprived.
Exactly. A short nap can bring emotional balance back. You're less reactive, more patient, more human again.
I've definitely felt that. There have been days when I was frustrated and I thought I needed coffee. But after a nap, the problem just didn't feel so big anymore.
Right. Because rest gives perspective. When your brain isn't exhausted, it can see things more clearly.
You know, it's funny, there's a cultural difference here too. In some countries, taking naps at work is almost embarrassing. But in Japan, they even have a word for it, inamurai.
Yes, inamuri means sleeping while present. It's seen as a sign of dedication. Like you worked so hard, you literally ran out of energy.
That's such a cool twist. In one culture, it's laziness. In another, it's commitment.
Exactly. It shows how language reflects attitude. Nap in English might sound like rest, but power nap adds energy to it. Siesta sounds cultural and warm. Inamure sounds respectful.
So, how we name rest changes how we feel about it.
Yes. And that's something I think English learners can really notice. Words carry emotion, not just meaning.
So true. And in this case, nap doesn't just mean sleep, it can mean recharge, recovery, or even inspiration.
Exactly. And here's a fun challenge for our listeners. Describe your perfect nap in English. Where would you be? How long would it last? What would it feel like when you woke up?
That's a great way to practice. Use sensory words: soft pillow, warm sunlight, quiet room. You'll improve your vocabulary and get sleepy just describing it.
Double win.
But before we both actually fall asleep, there's one more layer we should explore.
The timing of naps. Because if you nap at the wrong time, your night sleep might hate you for it.
Exactly. Let's talk about that in the next part. And
So, we've talked about how naps refresh the brain, but timing is everything. Nap too long or too late, and it can totally mess with your night's sleep.
I've definitely done that. You know when you close your eyes at 6 p.m. and wake up at 8, completely confused about what century it is?
The classic time travel nap. Everyone's done it at least once. But here's what science says: the best time to nap is usually between 1 and 3 in the afternoon.
Makes sense. That's the moment when your energy naturally dips. Your body temperature drops a little, your alertness fades, and suddenly every chair looks like a bed.
Exactly. That's your circadian rhythm at work, your internal body clock. It's like a wave of drowsiness that hits in the early afternoon. If you catch that wave, even a 20-minute nap can feel amazing.
But if you miss it and nap too late, your brain gets tricked into thinking it's bedtime, and then you're wide awake at midnight.
Right? It's all about balance. The trick is short and early. A nap before 3 p.m. is recovery. A nap at 5 p.m. is sabotage.
So, what's the magic length again?
Around 20 minutes. That's long enough to rest your mind, but short enough to avoid deep sleep. Once you fall into deep sleep, usually after 30 minutes, it's hard to wake up smoothly.
That explains why my just 10 minutes nap turns into a foggy hour of regret.
We've all been there. It's called sleep inertia, that groggy, heavy feeling after waking up from deep sleep. You can avoid it by setting an alarm or even napping in a bright room so you don't drift too deep.
I've heard some people even nap with a coffee in hand.
Ah, the coffee nap. It sounds strange, but it works. You drink a small coffee, immediately close your eyes for about 20 minutes, and by the time you wake up, the caffeine kicks in. You feel twice as alert.
Genius, so you're recharging and fueling up at the same time.
Exactly. It's like plugging in your brain and pouring in some extra battery juice.
But I guess naps aren't for everyone. Some people feel worse afterward, right?
True. If that happens, it usually means the nap was too long, too late, or your body wasn't actually tired. A good nap should leave you refreshed, not disoriented.
So, short and sweet. That's the key.
Short, sweet, and intentional. Don't nap just because you're bored. Nap because your brain genuinely needs a reset.
That's actually a really good point. Resting isn't always physical. Sometimes your mind needs rest more than your body.
Exactly. And naps give your mind that pause. Even if you don't fall fully asleep, just lying quietly with your eyes closed can slow your brain waves and calm your system.
So, even if you just rest for 10 minutes without actually sleeping, you still get benefits?
Definitely. It's like a mini meditation. That's why some people call it a mind nap.
I like that. Mind nap. It sounds peaceful, like pressing pause on the world for a few moments.
And in a world where everything moves too fast, maybe that's exactly what our brains crave.
Totally. So, to sum it up, nap early, nap briefly, and nap on purpose.
Well said. And in the next part, let's go a little deeper. What if you can't nap or you feel guilty when you do?
Ah, yes, the modern day guilt of rest. We need to talk about that.
We do. Because sometimes the hardest part of resting is giving yourself permission to do it.
So, Mia, you just said something that really stuck with me. Giving yourself permission to rest. Why do we even need to say that?
Because honestly, a lot of people feel guilty when they rest, especially when the world around us keeps saying, work harder, stay busy, be productive. Rest starts to feel like breaking the rules.
Yeah, it's like there's this invisible pressure that if you stop for a minute, you're falling behind.
Exactly. But the irony is, when we refuse to rest, we end up doing worse work. The quality drops, focus disappears, mistakes pile up.
It's true. I've had those days when I push through the afternoon slump and feel proud for staying productive. Then I reread my work later and realize half of it makes no sense.
I've done that too. That's why I think of rest as part of the job. Naps, breaks, pauses. They're not lazy moments. They're maintenance, like charging your phone.
Right? Nobody calls their phone lazy for needing to recharge.
Exactly. But we judge ourselves for doing the same thing.
I remember when I first started working full time, I'd take short naps during lunch breaks in my car. At first, I felt embarrassed, like people would think I wasn't serious enough.
Oh, totally. Did you ever tell anyone?
Not at first. But one day, a coworker caught me and said, "You nap? Lucky, I wish I could." And that's when I realized it wasn't shameful. Everyone was exhausted. I was just the one who admitted it.
That's such a great point. So many of us are tired, but we pretend we're not because we think tired means weak, when actually it means human.
And napping doesn't mean you're unmotivated. It means you're managing your energy instead of pretending to have endless amounts of it.
Exactly. The healthiest people aren't the ones who never rest, they're the ones who rest on purpose.
I love that. Rest on purpose. It's like saying, I choose to take care of myself, even when the world tells me not to.
And that's such an important idea for language learners, too, because learning is mental work. If your brain's tired, no amount of studying will help. Sometimes the most effective study session starts with a nap.
That's so true. I remember once I was studying vocabulary for hours, nothing was sticking. Then I gave up, took a 20-minute nap, and when I came back, suddenly the words made sense.
Yep. Your brain had time to sort the information. You basically gave your memory room to breathe.
You know what? Maybe naps aren't just a physical need, they're emotional too.
I agree. Naps give you a moment of safety, a pause in the noise. You're saying, for the next 20 minutes, nothing demands anything from me. That's powerful.
Yeah, it's like a soft reminder that you're allowed to stop. That rest isn't the opposite of progress, it's part of it.
I love that. Because when you wake up from a nap feeling calm, clear, and just a bit lighter, that's not just your brain recovering, it's your soul catching up.
That's beautiful and so true.
So maybe the real question isn't, are naps good for your brain? It's, why do we forget to be kind to ourselves?
That's a much deeper question, and one we should all sit or sleep on.
Definitely. But before we drift too far into dreamland, I want to share a few practical ways to build healthy naps into your day.
Yes, like turning theory into habit. Let's go there next.
So, we've talked about the science, the emotion, the guilt. Now, let's make it practical. How do you actually build a good nap into your day without it turning into a 3 hour sleep marathon?
Step 1. Create the right environment. That doesn't mean you need a perfect bed or blackout curtains, just somewhere quiet and comfortable enough that your body can relax.
Exactly. Even a couch or a chair works if your goal is a short nap. Sometimes being too comfortable makes it harder to wake up.
Right. So, no climbing under the duvet if you've got things to do later.
Step 2. Set an alarm and make it gentle, something that doesn't shock you awake. 20 minutes is the golden rule. You can even experiment with 15 if you fall asleep fast.
And step 3, give yourself a little wind down moment. People think naps are instant, like hitting pause, but you actually need a minute to tell your brain, we're switching gears now.
I love that. It could be something small, turning off notifications, closing your eyes, focusing on your breathing. Even if you don't fall asleep, those few calm minutes still reset your mind.
That's actually a great point. You don't have to sleep for it to count. Just resting your brain from input, no screens, no talking, can do wonders.
Yes, in fact, that's called a non sleep deep rest. It's like meditation for people who can't meditate. You just close your eyes and breathe slowly.
And your body starts to relax naturally. Heart rate slows down, stress hormones drop, Your mind gets quiet.
Exactly. The trick is to let go of the pressure to nap perfectly. Some people say, I can't nap, my mind keeps racing. That's okay. The point isn't to force sleep, it's to offer rest.
That's such a gentle way to look at it. Offering rest instead of demanding sleep.
And another practical tip: light. Try to keep it soft, not pitch dark, unless you're totally free afterward. Natural daylight helps you wake up easier.
I've also found background sound helps. Not music with lyrics, but something steady, like rain sounds or soft ambient noise.
Oh, totally. It gives your mind something gentle to focus on, so it doesn't wander back to your to do list.
And what about after the nap? Because sometimes that first minute feels like swimming back from another world.
That's normal. The best thing to do is stretch, drink some water, and move a little. It signals your body that the nap is over and helps your blood start flowing again.
And here's my favorite trick: don't jump right back into work. Give yourself a minute to adjust. Maybe make tea, look out the window, breathe. Otherwise, your brain feels like it got yanked from dreamland into a spreadsheet.
I love that. A soft landing. You're easing back into the day instead of crashing into it.
So let's recap: short nap, quiet space, set an alarm, gentle wake up, soft landing. Simple and powerful.
Exactly. And remember, even if you can't find time for a real nap, just pausing for a few minutes, closing your eyes, slowing your breath, is enough to reset your mind.
Because ultimately, rest isn't about time, it's about intention.
Beautifully said. And speaking of intention, I think in our next part, we should explore what rest means to different people, how naps connect to culture, creativity, and identity.
Yes, because behind every nap is a story. And sometimes that story says a lot about who we are.
Exactly. Let's dig into that next.
You know what's fascinating, Mia? The way different cultures talk about naps says so much about how they view life.
Absolutely. Language reveals attitude. Take Spain, for example. Everyone knows about the siesta. It's not just a nap, it's part of the rhythm of life. Shops close, families go home, the day slows down. It's accepted, even celebrated.
Yeah, like rest isn't something you fit in, it's built into the system.
Exactly. Then you look at Japan's inemuri, which we mentioned earlier, literally sleeping while present. People nap on trains, at work, even in meetings. It's seen as dedication, not disrespect.
I love that. Falling asleep at your desk in Tokyo isn't a scandal, it's a badge of hard work.
Meanwhile, in the US or the UK, we still fight against the word nap. It sounds childish, like something kids do after kindergarten. Adults, take a coffee break instead, because that sounds productive.
Right. There's this idea that if you're resting, you must not be trying hard enough. So we rename rest to make it sound more acceptable.
Exactly. That's why phrases like power nap became popular. It adds a bit of strength to something soft. It turns rest into a performance.
It's so funny how a single word can shift the feeling. Say nap, and it's cozy. Say power nap, and it's efficient. Same action, totally different energy.
Totally. And I think that tells us something deeper: our relationship with time. In some cultures, time is a cycle. You work, rest, recover, then begin again. In others, time is a straight line forward, and resting feels like slowing down the train.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And maybe that's why so many of us feel anxious about stopping, because stopping feels like falling behind.
Exactly. But the truth is, if you never pause, you burn out. Napping or even daydreaming isn't a waste. It's the pause that lets your creativity breathe.
I love that idea. The pause that lets creativity breathe. Some of the world's most creative people actually built rest into their routines.
Like who?
Salvador Dali used to nap sitting in a chair with a metal key in his hand. As soon as he drifted off, the key would fall, hit a plate, and wake him up. He called it a micro nap. It gave him flashes of surreal images for his paintings.
That's incredible. It's like he found a way to borrow ideas from the space between waking and dreaming.
Exactly. And Einstein used to nap too, sometimes several times a day. So if anyone ever calls you lazy for napping, just say, Einstein did it.
That's my new line. Einstein napped, so I can too.
It should be printed on t shirts.
Seriously? But it makes sense. Naps give the brain that flexible, creative state between logic and imagination. That's where ideas live.
It also reminds me how the word dream itself sits between two meanings. It's about sleeping, but also about your hopes and imagination.
That's true. Dream big and have sweet dreams. Both use the same word, but one belongs to your heart, the other to your sleep. And maybe that's not an accident. Maybe both come from the same place in the mind, the part that wakes up with new ideas.
That's so beautiful. Maybe naps aren't just rest, they're where your dreams and your daily life meet halfway.
Exactly. And maybe that's why they feel so good. You're stepping into a small world of stillness where imagination, emotion, and memory quietly mix together.
The more we talk about it, the more I think naps say a lot about how you treat yourself.
They really do. Because taking a nap is an act of trust. You're saying the world will keep turning while I rest.
That's powerful and something we don't say enough.
Definitely. But before we wrap this up, let's give our listeners something to take away, something practical, but also emotional.
Like how to reconnect with rest in their own way.
Exactly. Let's end with that. So, Tom, after everything we've said today, from brain science to guilt to culture, what's your personal take? Are naps good for the brain?
Honestly, I think they're good for everything. For your brain, your emotions, your creativity, your patience. A nap is like pressing reset, not just on your thoughts, but on your whole mood.
I completely agree. I think the key is to change how we see naps. They're not time lost, they're time invested.
Yeah, because when you wake up from that 20-minute rest, your mind isn't foggy anymore. It's clearer, faster, and kinder. You can think, feel, and even speak better.
And that ties beautifully into learning English, too. When your brain is rested, language flows more easily. You're not just memorizing, you're connecting.
Exactly. You can actually feel the words instead of forcing them. It's amazing how rest affects the way we communicate.
Because language isn't just logic, it's rhythm, emotion, and memory. And all of those live in a brain that needs rest to work well.
That makes me think maybe learning a language and taking a nap have something in common.
How so?
Both need patience. You can't rush either one. You just show up, relax, and trust that something is quietly growing in the background.
That's so true. Both are acts of faith. You do the small things, listening, resting, repeating, and little by little, your mind transforms.
I love that.
So here's our listener challenge for this week. Sometime in the next few days, I want you to take one intentional nap, just 15 or 20 minutes.
Set an alarm, find a quiet space, and give yourself permission to rest.
And afterward, describe the experience in English. How did it feel before and after? Were you calmer, more focused, sleepy, or inspired? Use sensory details. Words like warm, heavy, soft, quiet.
That's not just language practice, it's emotional practice too. You're learning how to describe peace.
I love that. Describe peace. That should be the title of something.
Maybe our next episode.
Maybe. But for now, let's let this one rest.
Agreed. To everyone listening, if you've been pushing too hard lately, take this as your sign. Rest isn't weakness, it's wisdom.
And maybe the smartest thing you can do for your brain today is close your eyes for a little while.
That's your homework and your permission.
We'll see you next time on Easylish, where learning English feels a little more human and sometimes a little more sleepy.
Until then, sweet dreams, or should I say, power naps.
I'll take either one.